Okay, we're going to start with this one. We have inside the parentheses in the numerator 2 to the cube minus 3 to the square, all cubed. Now, if we can try to do the power rule, but you see the problem with the power rule, we can try to distribute the exponent of 3 into these two constants here, but we can't. With the power rule, whenever we see a minus sign or a plus sign there, we cannot use the power rule. The power rule is powerless. Okay, so we cannot do that. No, no, no. So we have to start within the parentheses itself first and work our way out. So let's do it. 2 cubed is 8. So parentheses 8 minus 3 cubed is going to be 9. Okay. I mean 3 squared is going to be 9, all cubed. Okay. Let's go next. That will be equal to the denominator 3 cubed. 3 squared is 9 minus 2 cubed is 8. Okay. To the fourth power. Okay. So 8 minus 9 is going to be negative 1 cubed. 9 minus 8 is 1 to the fourth power. Okay. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 over 1. Negative 1 divided by 1 is equal to negative 1. Good. Let's go to the second one. Okay. Now, your answer should be 1 over 1 plus 1. Right? Look at the numerator. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So we're going to have 1 and 1 plus 1. So 1 over 2 will be our answer. Okay, so let's look at the numerator of the first one. Let's move to the first one, and we see that we have a power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So the numerator will be equal to 1. Now let's look at the denominator. We see that we have a square within the square. I mean a parentheses within the parentheses. Right? We have negative and parentheses x plus y, all to the fifth power, right? Well, we're going to use the power rule to try to distribute, because there's a parentheses, and every x plus y is a factor. It's factored and it's multiplied by a negative on the outside, right? And it's not a plus on the outside or a minus, so we can use the power rule. The power rule is powerful here. So we're gonna put in the 5 into both factors, into negative 1 and into the parentheses x plus 4. Right? These are both factors now. If there was a plus outside the parentheses or minus, we cannot use the power rule, right? And the x plus y are protected by the parentheses. So to make it multiplication. So negative 1 to the fifth power will be the first one, times our protection of parentheses to the fifth power. Now we're going to have 1, a negative to the fifth power will be negative 1, times x to the y to the fifth power. X plus y to the fifth power. And that's our answer. Okay. Now, this question here at the bottom. 10 to the fourth plus 10 to the third plus 10 to the squared plus 10 divided by that whole thing on the bottom to the power of 0. Remember, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So our denominator will be equal to 1. And with the top, you can just pull out 10 to the fourth power. We'll have 4 zeros. 10 to the third power, we'll have 3 zeros. 10 to the second power, we'll have 2 zeros. And 10 is 10. So you just add them up together. You're going to get 1. You're going to have three zeros. I mean, not 3 zeros, I'm sorry. you're going to have 4 ones and a 0. So it's going to be 11,110 over 1. And the answer would be 11,110. Our next one is a word problem. The next question is suppose one person sends a letter to 10 people. Okay? And the following week, those 10 people send a letter to 10 other people. If this pattern continues, how many letters will be sent out on the 4th week? Okay, so how are we going to solve this? What are we given? What is the question answering? The question wants us to find out how many letters will be sent out on the 4th week. The 4th week. Okay? And what are we given? Let's look at the word problem again. A person sends a letter to 10 people. Okay? One person sends a letter to 10 people. And then those 10 people send a letter to 10 other people. So we have a person times 10. One person times 10. Yes, times 10 people. 10 people, right? And then those 10 people send it to 10 more people. And this continues to the 4th week, so it's going to continue 3 more times. Okay, so another time. And then again, each of those 10 do the same thing. And in each of those 10, do it again. Right. And it stops there on the 4th week. Well, it's the same as taking 10 people times 10 people times 10 people times 10 people. Okay. So in week 1, we started with one person. And that one person sent out 10 letters. So we start out with 10 letters. And those 10 letters are multiplied by 10 more letters in week 2. Which in turn are multiplied by 10 more letters in week 3. Which in turn, from those last 10 group of people, are multiplied by 10 more letters. So we're going to have 10 times 10 times 10 on the 4th week of 10 letters. And that will equal to 10 to the 4th power, right? Which will be 10 to the 4 zeros, which would be about 10,000 letters. 10,000 letters. That should be your answer. Okay, we want to know, why don't we use 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10? Why don't we use addition, and why do we use multiplication? Well, let me give you an additional problem that's similar to this problem here, where we have letters being sent out on the fourth week. Let's say we have a class of 10 people, right? 10 students, right? That's class number 1. Okay, class number 1. And this class as a whole group, sends out 10 letters to class number 2, or class B. Class A, class B. Usually it's class A and class B, to class B, right? So they won't confuse you with numbers. And class B consists of 10 students, again, okay? It doesn't really matter. We have class A, they send out 10 letters to class B, right? And class B sends out 10 more letters than class A sent out, right? So we're going to have 10 more letters than what class A sent out. Good. And that goes to class C. That's going to be week number 2. And now class C sends out 10 more letters than what class B sent. That's going to be week 3. It's going to be class to class, and it goes to class D. And class D, for the 4th week, there's 10 plus 10 plus 10. Class D for the 4th week sends out 10 more letters than what class C sent. It will be 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Okay? In this scenario, this is the scenario where we will have 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 because class D is sending out 10 more letters than class C, which in turn is sending more letters out than class B, which in turn is sending 10 more letters than class A. It's always 10 more letters. So in the 4th week, we have 10 more letters than another group. And 10 more letters means plus 10. Okay? That's why it's not 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. It's 10 times 10. In the particular 4th week, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 letters are being sent out. Okay? Okay. Here's another question for you. Suppose one person sends a letter to X number of people. And the following week, those X people send a letter to X other people. If this pattern continues, how many letters will be sent out on the 5th week? So what do they want? They want to know how many letters will be sent out on the 5th week. That's what they want. How many letters will be sent out on the 5th week? What are we given? We're given that one person sends a letter to X number of people, and then the next week, those X people sends out a letter to X other people. And this pattern continues for 5 weeks. So here's what's going on. The first week, we have one person. He sends out X letters. And then to X people. And then the following week, those X people send out X letters to X people. So then we have X times X people. And then the next week, those people send out X letters to X people. So we have a total of X times X times X people, right? And in the 4th week, we have those X people send out X letters to X people, right? It's really, really, really big. And so we have X times X times X times X people. And in the 5th week, the same thing happens. Those X people send out X letters to X people. So we'll have X times X times X times X times X people. So the answer would be X to the, well, on the 5th week, right? How many letters will be sent out on the 5th week? The answer will, if you look on the 5th week, it's going to be, it's week 2, it's week 3, that's week 4, and that's week 5. On the 5th week, we're going to circle it. There's going to be X times X times X times X times X people. That's X to the 5th power. And that's your answer for that one. So because one person receives one letter, so X to the 5th amount of people receive X to the 5th amount of letters. So in the 5th week, X to the 5th amount of letters are sent out.